Forever is the strangest thing. It's shorter than you think. No think.
The Holy Trinity, Bermuda, Alaskan, and Bridgewater triangles. Some say even notable deaths. The significance of 3 is undeniable. You are to bear witness to yet another event. We're invited to join your hosts, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy, as they guide you down the rabbit holes of the paranormal and unexplained, striving for answers of this world and beyond. Welcome to Blondes, Booze, and the Woo.
Hello, everybody. How are you all?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our new night we're on. We're on Fridays.
Absolutely. And this will be our first Friday night show with Tex and his crew. And we're pretty excited about it. So I'm Krista.
And I'm Brandy.
And
I just wanted to let everybody know again. I know I said this last night if you watched our show, but it is Veterans Day. So make sure if you know a veteran, you thank them for their service, tell them you love them. And everybody out there, we appreciate you for doing what you do.
Yes, for sure. Also, I want to just say real quick, Erin's missed the last couple of nights. And I talked to her about an hour or two ago, and she is super, super sick. She was last night. She tested for COVID, but tested negative today.
Oh, good.
It's in her chest and her lungs. So let's just all pray that she doesn't have pneumonia. So,
oh, well, that would be awful. Ugh.
Right. Absolutely be awful. So tonight we're talking ghosts.
Oh, my favorite subject.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have 3 special guests that are good friends of ours, and we appreciate them doing this. We were supposed to have Tony Pickman on tonight, but it's harvest season, and with his job, he's working through this time. So these 3 graciously agreed to come on and help some girls out tonight.
Yeah, we like pulling them over to the dark side.
That's right. So I will pull them back up here. We have Robby, we have DA, and we have Tex. Thanks, guys.
Hi. Welcome, everybody.
And I think I'll move my mic up here where everybody can hear me.
Tex, with a voice that deep, they'd hear you without the mic.
I was about to say,
Right.
I think you could put the mic across the room, Tex, and they'd still be able to hear you.
For
A
sure.
voice so husky it could pull a dog sled.
That's a good one.
Right,
Yeah, I'll have
exactly.
to remember that one. I'm having a bad hair day, guys.
Me too. That's why I threw mine in a ponytail. You could throw it there in a ponytail, Tex.
Maybe that's what I ought to do, is throw it in a ponytail.
There you go.
Hey, that's what I do. I generally do every day. But anyway, tonight we're kind of doing an impromptu thing. We're going to go ahead and talk haunted locations and where we've been or where we want to go, or even talk about some folklore, ghost stories, or maybe some things that stories we've heard. I find everything fascinating anyway. I love to sit and listen to people, talk about their experiences. It's funny when you go out and you talk to people about what you do and say, yeah, I'm a paranormal investigator. Next thing you know, you've got people coming right at you telling you, hey, you know what? I saw this, or I saw that, or I felt this. So, so if anybody out there has any questions, go ahead and ask, and we'll see if we can get you an answer or not. We'll try to figure it out.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the cities that people are talking about most, that usually when you think haunted or paranormal, these are the cities that come out. The first one is Portland, Oregon. And it's always the Shanghai tunnels. Now, we were just discussing this a little while ago about, Krista, did you say Ozzy Osbourne?
Mm-hmm.
Ozzy Osbourne investigated these tunnels. Now, if you understood what he said, good for you. I might need an interpreter, but that's okay. But the story goes is that the innkeepers or the bartenders would get people drunk, and then they would take them down to these tunnels, and then you'd never see them again. Basically what they would do is they'd ship you on out. Now, DA, you had a really good explanation on that when we were talking about it. Go ahead and let everybody know what we were talking about.
Well, it's actually the origin of the phrase "shanghaied." People, it's still a common use term. I got shanghaied into doing this. I got drafted into doing that. Shanghaied basically means drafted against your will or taken against your will. But these bartenders would get people drunk, and they had trap doors built into some of these bars, and they would just drop them straight down into these tunnels. And ship captains that needed crewmen for these long hauls for hauling cargo across the Pacific would pay top money for these bartenders to send them recruits. So these guys would wake up miles out to sea with a bad hangover, and they're pressed into service to serve on the ship. And if they refuse to work, they just chuck them overboard. So these guys were forced labor on these ships, and it got to using the term "shanghaied" because most of them were making the Shanghai run to China.
Wow, that's interesting. You know what? Okay, so I've watched a lot of Westerns, and I think I've seen an episode like that on Bonanza.
You may have.
No, seriously, like it's ringing a bell to me.
You may have. It wouldn't surprise me.
Right?
So anyway, they have people having experiences down in these tunnels where they're hearing voices or seeing shadows or movement or, if you can't remember getting dropped down in those tunnels, who would be down there?
Right.
Well, also there were alcoves in these tunnels that a lot of the ladies of the night would ply their trade by taking people down there, and in a lot of the cases, they would get either rolled or killed. They would take them down to these tunnels and take their money and be on their way.
Oh my goodness!
I had no idea.
I didn't know about that. Now I knew about the prostitution that was down in that area, but I did not know that they were actually killing their victims down there.
And some of the legends also say that not only were they, ladies of the night, quote unquote, prostitutes plying their trade, a lot of them were taken down there, including a number of Native American women who were forced into it and died down there.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? Can you not even being able to speak the language? Yeah, but you're not even able to speak the language hardly. Just as much as we would get by in a foreign country, hand signals, and that would be about it. But I couldn't even imagine just going through there and never seeing your family again or anything like that. Now I see where that the residual effect from all the trauma and all the tragedy that went down there. I could see where that would happen. Has anybody been to Oregon, by the way?
No, but I have good friends in Oregon.
I've been there, but I have not been down in the Shanghai tunnels.
Well, I need to go there, I think, because it just seems really, well, with my interest being cryptid and paranormal, I would assume that would be the best place for me to go. I'm hoping. We just need to hook up with Krista's friends out there and get there.
Yeah.
Well, when y'all go, let me know, and I'll hook you up with a camera crew.
There you go. How fun would that be?
I know.
There you go.
I know we'd be out in the woods in the daytime and in haunted locations at nighttime. Whew, we'd never get to sleep.
Right.
It would be a free for all for me, not only for cryptid hunting, because that's my primary interest, but so much paranormal up there as well. I mean, we've got ghost aircraft that are seen. There are so many so many millions of acres of unbroken tree land out there. I think there's 26 aircraft that went down in the Oregon Washington area that were never found. People report seeing spectral aircraft flying over. They report, supposedly the ghost of DB Cooper in a couple of places. Although,
Right.
that's pure speculation because a lot of people think that DB Cooper made it out of there alive with the money. But, hard to say. But then you add the Native American lore. The place is just steeped with all kinds of paranormal encrypted encounters.
Wow.
Don't you have the Badlands down there too?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm
I
thinking
think so.
Or part of them anyway?
Mhm.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
at least
that
part of
I
them
wouldn't
kinda-
know.
kinda
I'll have to
touch
look
that
that up.
area.
Let me write that down so I remember. Because I always do this after every show. It's like everything we talk about that I want to learn more about. I always jot it down so I can go look.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hit on Robby's area over there in the Carolinas. Now, Charleston, South Carolina is listed of one of the top most haunted states we have. Now, I can understand that because of the Civil War and all of that, and a lot of battles were fought there. But Robby had a really good story about, I think you said a friend of yours seeing someone in a window.
And I've told DA this story a couple times. There's a museum, the Pickens County Museum, and it's actually right across from the police department I work at. There's been multiple documentaries. Matter of fact, they just had one a month or so ago. I think it was filmed the whole weekend. It was on the weekend that I worked, and they had a film crew out there pretty much the entire weekend. Several officers that I've worked with have seen figures in the windows at night. My lieutenant actually got interviewed for one of those, or my old lieutenant for one of those documentaries. He was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And he got out of the patrol car, and where the police department is, it's right across the road, but they've got just a little parking area right there in front. So a lot of times it's easier, especially on night shift, if you just got to run into the police department, it's easier just pulling that parking lot. It's got those couple of parking spaces right there in the front door, and just walk right across the street and down to the police department, which is closer than where our parking area for the patrol cars is. He got out of his patrol car, and he said he didn't know why. He turned around and looked, and he saw somebody up in a female, I think he said, up in the upstairs window. And he said he didn't really think nothing about it. And he walked across the street, and then all of a sudden it hit him. Wait a minute, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Why is it? And he turned back around and looked, and she was gone. And also another person that works with us now, Krista knows who this one is. Saw somebody or something, some person, whatever you want to call it, 4 or 5 months ago, I think, in the upstairs windows. And that's usually what most people say is they see it was an old stockade at one time, and so the upstairs windows have bars on the outside of them to kind of simulate the old stockade look. And a lot of times they say that you see shadows and figures walking across the windows at night.
I think that would kind of startle me just a little bit, just to be walking by and to see something walk by with you. You're just like, well, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
That would be scary.
That picture that I hastily put in the intro, I took in Memphis on a ghost tour.
Wow.
And I'm standing outside a abandoned hotel, and it's all locked down. Nobody's allowed in there. And I took 3 pictures, click, click, click. And that showed up in the second picture. And if you look close, it looks like a guy standing there with his arm up. And,
Wow.
and the story goes that back in, I think it was the 30s or 40s, the super or maintenance guy or caretaker, however you want to look at it, came home drunk, and they found him the next day. They don't know if somebody knocked him in the head or he bumped his head or he passed out. They don't know what happened, but they found him the next morning underneath the boiler down in the basement, and he had baked to death.
Oh my God, that's awful.
And if you look at that picture, and what's odd about that picture is the more you blow it up, the better it gets. It's insane, but it looks like a burn victim.
Can you pull that up right now so we can take a look at it?
Sure.
I'm excited. Pull up the picture. Hurry.
All right, let's see it as well.
Yeah, I'll have to load it up here. Hang on.
Yeah, but that's always me. You got a picture of something? Let me see it. I want to see it.
Yeah. But and we got back on the bus and we were going to another location, and I was with my youngest daughter and her best friend. This was several years ago. We were on vacation, and I was showing them the picture, and they were oohing and all over it and everything. And it started getting passed around the bus, you know. And the guide got it, and
Wow.
they said, we've never caught any evidence like that here.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah, so I gave it to them and everything.
Oh, wow.
There
I
you go.
see it.
Hey,
Oh, I do. Oh
Yeah,
my god. Yep, I
absolutely
see it.
Wow. Very cool. That's a good capture.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was blind ass
I'm all
luck.
staring at it. Oh. Hey, that's how I always get mine. Just luck. It's nothing more
Yeah.
but just luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick,
I was
Tex.
supposed to
I
be out.
know.
I was supposed to be out in the field in Brown Springs this weekend with Gary Senior and CD Squatcher, but she was flying in from Florida, and her flight got canceled because of the hurricane. And then I started looking at the forecast, and it was going to be 29 degrees, 30-mile-an-hour winds, and rain. And I'm like,
No, we'll pass on that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I hated not going, but you know, I don't so much worry. The rain and the cold is one thing, but honestly, going out there's so many widowmakers around in the woods that I don't go out there when it's windy. I just don't. I mean, we had a tree.
Well, you can't hear them. You can't hear nothing but that wind howling.
We had a last
That's
time
not
I was-
always true. I was out at a cemetery one time, and it was windy and rain was coming up. But every one of us, even though it didn't come up on our recording devices, every one of us heard chanting, like Native American chanting on the wind.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to answer a
I
question.
worry about not hearing a branch break in time that falls on your head. That's what I
That's a
worry
good
about.
point.
We had a tree about 30 feet tall break off right by camp. It broke off about 15 feet up while we sitting around a campfire. And we was like, okay.
That's enough time to move. Anyway, we had a question, Krista.
Yeah, and Aaron actually just answered it in the chat, but they asked about a question about running water with it. And then Aaron said running water is energy, and that's part of the earth. I think it definitely plays a part in paranormal activity, adds energy to the environment, which feeds paranormal activity. I would wholeheartedly agree with Aaron's answer.
Much like limestone.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. Let's see here.
Yeah, because the limestone will hold the energy,
Yeah.
and the water produces it. So those two together is just a mix for paranormal.
And you know what else they say too, which is it's man-made, but a lot of paranormal activity run along railroad tracks. What would you say that would be? I mean, seriously, like
and bridges.
Yeah, and bridges. Yeah. Which is
I
kind of
have to
odd.
wonder if it's something with possibly the vibration,
Maybe.
Or the
you know,
metal.
or something. The harmonics are right. When I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
or it
my
could be.
theory
You know
on stuff
what?
like
It could be the iron. It could be.
my
the
theory
iron
on stuff like
track.
that is a lot of these things follow ley lines.
Oh yeah.
I think I have a thought on the railroad tracks. Something just occurred to me. Railroad tracks at all times have a very low current running through them. That's how trains will be able to activate train signals ahead of them on road crossings way back before they were able to do it from the internet.
Right.
It wasn't like they had a satellite network where they could activate railroad crossings. These train tracks always had a small current running through them, so the track would alert the railroad crossings when the train was coming.
Yeah. I
That
could
might
see-
have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nana Boss says train tracks and bridges are transitional points. Makes sense to me. For sure. For sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you know, you're talking about the running water and the limestone and everything, and I every time it seems like every subject we talk about, Brown Springs comes up.
Mhm.
Okay. But I mean, we've got to where we call it Skinwalker Ranch of Oklahoma. I mean, it's it's crazy, but the cemetery up there has a spring. The Brown Springs runs directly underneath the cemetery and bubbles up at the foot of the
Yeah.
hill that
Oh,
the
wow.
cemetery's on.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Chris,
Yeah.
I don't think you were on then. I think you had to leave.
I got a
Um,
grandbaby.
But yeah, yeah,
That's why I
yeah,
had to
she
get
got a
off.
grandbaby.
I got a grandbaby then. That's why I had to get off. Yeah.
And
But
we
yeah, I
never
do
heard
remember
about
you saying that.
what did we have?
We have a girl, and her name is Oakley.
Oakley?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Man, how do you keep from calling her Annie?
I was just thinking that.
I think my son would probably not let me be around her if I started calling her that. So,
Well, you never know.
yeah, never know.
She might grow up and be a marksman or something, you know. You never
Yeah.
know.
And
Start calling her Annie.
Yep, exactly. So,
So
yeah.
I mean that leads me to believe, like with the water and all of that, and they're talking about like the water being under Savannah, Georgia, and in South Carolina and all up that coast, that with all the battles that were fought there, if that had something to do with everything that is residual.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Because people are reporting a lot of residual hauntings, such as they see a soldier walking down a road, but he doesn't look at him, doesn't acknowledge him, doesn't even know they're there. It's just like he's just doing his business and keeps on going. And a lot of residual hauntings are there. But that's why I really do believe that water and limestone play a big part in all the energy that keeps paranormal entities or spirits just keep moving.
Mhm. Yeah. Speaking of Civil War battlefields, I used to do Civil War reenacting, and in Centralia, Missouri, there was a battle of Centralia, and we reenacted it. And I did have, I got rid of them now, but I had the old Civil War tents and stuff, and I literally laid in bed one night listening to horses running and cannons firing, and there was none of that going on. It was cool. I actually, being in the paranormal, I'm out there by myself, looking around, and was like, man, this is kind of cool. But it was briefly, it would come in spurts. So I mean, absolutely, it was residual, but it was different. And other people had said that too.
Would it happen more often after you have done the reenactment, or did you hear it like say the night before, or was it more?
It was
like
after
I said,
the
after.
reenactment. It was after. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, that
Well,
was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it was really kind of a cool experience.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, they say the same thing about the Alamo, that it's very haunted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my works headquarters is out of down there by the Alamo in San Antonio, and they keep threatening to send me down there. I'm like, you send me down there anytime. I'm ghosting because they're like just a couple blocks from the Alamo, the building, but it's also haunted. And I'm like, well, I'm bringing some team members with me. It's not just me coming, so we can ghost hunt. It used to be a brothel and stuff there. So apparently a lot of San Antonio is also haunted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to the Alamo several times. It is falling apart. They're trying to maintain it and keep it together, but you can see it that it's just unfortunately it's just Mother Nature's just taking it back is what's happening.
Right.
It's no matter what they're doing, it's still falling apart. So I recommend to anybody that if you've never been to the Alamo, go to the Alamo. It is a really cool place to visit.
Yeah.
The statue out there is just amazing. The memorial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole front of the building is really
Yeah.
beautiful. I've got pictures from 20 something years ago, and it looks exactly the same to me.
Mhm.
The inside's a little different because they,
Mhm.
like I said, they're trying to keep everything together, and they're having a hard time keeping up with it, because it's just decaying. That's all it's doing.
Yeah.
But
You know,
I do recommend get there.
you said it was falling apart.
Yeah,
That's-
it's starting to crumble because of the material that the building was made out of. Of course, it's not steel or anything. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
starting to crumble to where they're having to keep repairing and repairing it. It's just decaying. It's just that's what's happening.
See, that really makes me sad because, Brandy and I, our team's all about historical preservation. And, without that, that happens. These buildings go to crap where they don't get fixed. That's our history. Just like yesterday I read, Eddie Munster used to live in Macon, Missouri, and the mansion that he lived in actually was torn down yesterday. And that's history too. Even though it's Eddie Munster, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I
that
met him. Super nice guy.
bothers me.
Yeah. Well, with the Alamo, they're trying to preserve it the way it was meant, the way it was built.
Yeah.
And that's not working. I mean, soon they're going to have to use modern types of things to restore it. But right now it is as it was.
Right.
They are fixing it. Trust me, they got things blocked off. Every time I go there, there's something else blocked off that they're working on this part or this part. I mean, they definitely have the money coming in to take care of it. It's just the material that was used at the time wasn't necessarily going to stand the test of time.
Right. Exactly. I agree with you. It's just sad. That's kind of
I
stuff.
know. It's so sad.
We hold events at public places and we raise money, for these locations for historic preservation and I will throw a shout out real quick to anybody who's out there and like I said, without people donating to these places, they're gone. So to preserve our history, I encourage everybody to get with your local historical society or, because if not, it's gone. And what do we have to teach our kids, or show our kids or grandkids and,
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, believe it or not, my youngest, she's more into history because she knows there's paranormal in a lot of it. So she gets more excited when I start telling her stories. She's like, "Really?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you and go on the battlefield thing, but
No. That's perfectly okay. Let's move on to
here's a question. Do you
lighthouses.
want to answer this question real quick? Here's a
When it
question.
comes,
It says,
okay,
go ahead, Brandy, and read it.
when it comes to old buildings and institutions like prisons, do you believe the material that they are made from holds spirits in them? Are they prisoners after death as well? That is a very big question. I mean, that's a whole show in itself. I do believe that people's emotions and things stay in an area that they do. I don't know what you would say, sink into the walls, the floors, their vibrations are still there. I don't believe they're prisoners. I do not believe they're prisoners, but I believe that's what they know and that's where they stay if they choose to stay there.
Mhm.
A lot of them just seek comfort in what they remember. That's it. But other than that, that's a big question.
Yeah.
That's,
I think
that's up for a
along
lot
the
of
sides
debate.
that could lay along the sides of residual too.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. So, okay, go ahead.
Where was I going? Oh, the St. Augustine Lighthouse there in Florida.
Mm.
That's a big paranormal hotspot. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that they're open for investigations, but you see a lot of groups from TV going in and things like that. If I ever could, I would do that one. Who was there just recently? Oh, I wish I could remember. I believe it was Jason Hawes' team that was in there. And they did investigation, and you could hear people whistling or somebody whistling, just like they were upstairs, just whistling
Is
down,
it
and there was nobody else in there. I was like, are you kidding me?
is that the lighthouse where they saw the entity peeking over
Yes,
the
I believe
stairway?
so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that is the one. That is the one. And
yeah,
it's a
that
beautiful,
was
beautiful place. And now I've drove by there. I've never been in there. I drove by there. I used to live in right south of Daytona, so it's really not that far from me from there. But it's really a super beautiful area. And lighthouses always amaze me. I flew into Boston, and right there in the bay, you just look off, and on these little itty bitty tiny islands all over, you just see these lighthouses, and you can take pictures of them as you're flying in the plane landing. It was really a cool area, and I'm like, who would want to live out there? I don't think that I could. I guess when we didn't have the transportation that we do today, but how many people have died out there? And
Right.
nobody knew because they were, out there so far that nobody, they would only come in or have somebody deliver something every so often.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
that would be something, get in a boat and start traveling lighthouses there in the bay and to see what you find.
Well,
That would
was
be
it,
kind of
weren't
neat.
you out there solo for like a week or two or even longer at a time, and then you got your relief. So you were there for a while and then, so how lonely would that get? Seriously.
Right.
know?
Well, you got to think about it too during the winter months.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
There's nobody going out there. You could be stuck out there 4 or 5 months before
Right.
anybody could get out there.
Some of those
So
old original remote Coast Guard lighthouses would have a crew that rotated out twice a year.
Oh, geez, see?
There's
Just
actually
like
a
Oh.
movie.
That's
There's actually a
crazy.
movie that addresses that. It's called Cold Skin,
Mhm.
and it's actually about. It ends up being about mermaids, but it's about a guy that operates a lighthouse, and the guy coming to drop off supplies and all that kind of stuff. And there's
It's kind of a creepy
researcher
movie.
that's
I
on
have
the
seen it.
island. A meteorologist, and he has his own cabin. And then you have a lighthouse, and it's a good movie. It's different.
Do you
What was the
remember
name
what
of
it's
it again?
called?
Cold Skin.
Cold Skin.
Cold Skin.
I'm gonna write that down because I'm gonna look into
I am
that.
too.
Pretty sure it's on Netflix. I remember watching it with my wife not too long ago.
Okay.
I don't have Netflix.
I do.
I like-
I'll send you my info, Brandy. You can watch it.
Yay. That's when you know you got friends. They'll send you the Netflix password. I mean, we can sit and talk about like New Orleans all day.
Oh yeah.
We, that is just a paranormal hotbed, I think. That's endless. It's endless. Anywhere from vampires, werewolves to
Voodoo.
ghosts to voodoo to demons to that place. I don't know if I could spend a whole lot of time there, only because it would be so exhausting for me.
Right.
I would be just constantly want to go everywhere, see everything, do everything,
Mhm.
and never sleep.
Me too.
Yeah, there's
do
only
wanna
so
go
much
see,
gumbo and beignets you can eat.
Right?
Actually, I actually had boudin for supper tonight. So
Ooh.
Ooh.
Wow.
There's a Cajun place here in town that's run by some folks that moved up here right after Katrina. Oh, the food is so good.
There we
I got
go,
that
talking
red
about
beans
food
and
again.
rice.
I got Cajun
Oh.
relatives. Cajuns can cook.
Yeah.
yeah, tell me about it. I'm married into a bunch of Cajuns.
That works.
That's where this came from.
Yep.
That's true. That's true.
I hear you.
I have a big one. What do you think about the White House? Do you believe that it's haunted? I mean, there are stories that it's haunted.
They say Abe Lincoln's still there.
That's right. And his wife.
Yeah.
And his wife is there.
Yeah.
I
I
don't see
think
why it
all of
wouldn't be.
Washington D.C. was purpose built for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was the whole city was designed by Masons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, go figure, right?
Yeah.
Our tech guy, Randy, used to do a lot of investigations up there in the DC area. He was fortunate enough to go up there and investigate Gettysburg and all that up there.
Wow. That would be awesome. That would be
See,
awesome.
Gettysburg would be really, really cool to do. It's just, I don't know when would be a good time to go because so many people go there all year round. It's like I mean, if you wanted to try and get evidence, I don't know how you could get really true evidence
Right.
with so many people being there.
But I've seen a lot of real good pictures. I mean, that look pretty
Oh,
credible
yeah.
to me come out of Gettysburg. So
Yeah. Who goes there a lot? Is that the Texas Wraith Chasers that go there a lot?
Tennessee Wraith
Or
Chasers.
Tennessee. Sorry, there is a Texas. Look them up. They're on my Facebook. Sorry. But I for me, I would be out there with a metal detector trying to find,
Balls and stuff.
yeah, cannonballs, musket balls, trying to
I'm
find
sorry.
everything else.
Every time I hear you're one of the Wraith Chasers teams, I think of Supernatural Ghost Facers. It always pops into my mind. It makes me chuckle.
Right.
Well, Krista got to meet him not too long ago.
Great guys. And actually, they're going to do a show with us too. So it's just a matter of their schedule and ours working out.
Yeah, you got to nail him down.
Yeah. I talked to Mike from the team there, and they were great guys, actually. Super friendly. Like, they're coming back. I met them up at the Ray County Museum, and they were there holding an event, and our close friend Kathy, she's the curator up there, so she's like, hey, and she's not a paranormal person. She doesn't watch the TV shows. She likes the paranormal, but don't watch TV shows. She said, have you ever heard of these guys, the Tennessee Wraith Chasers? I'm like, yeah. She said, well, they're coming to the museum. Can you come help me? I was like, you don't have to ask me twice. So Erin and I went over there and helped her. So it was a fun night.
Yeah, it was a total fluke how that happened.
I know, that was a total fluke because actually they were supposed to go to another location in Kansas City, and then it was a public parks place. Well, the Kansas City Parks turned them down, so within a week they had to find another place to go and hold their event, and they contacted Kathy. So that was pretty lucky.
Yeah, they're lucky that Kathy had something available.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So I have to ask this question because I mean, all of us have done our share of paranormal investigations.
Uh-huh.
Has any of y'all ever had a problem with a hitchhiker?
I have not.
I have not. But then
Oh, yeah.
again, personal protection is my number one thing. So if I do not have it on me while I'm investigating, because I find that if I'm overprotected, I don't get anything.
Yep.
So I have to be very careful. And if I'm not protected enough, I've got extra protection in my car. It's kind of like it's a force field around my car that once I get in it, it's like, nope, you can't come in. I'm sorry. So I've never had a problem with a hitchhiker.
Me either. And as many cases as I have done, private cases, public events, that, I mean, honestly, I've been very fortunate, but I'm like Brandy, you just have a lot of protection. And I always, before I go into any haunted location, I always, say I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, and when I leave that location, I make it known, nobody's allowed to follow me. So, and knock on wood, I've been lucky.
Well, there was one time, I was with Megan Medley. Now, we were actually here in town at the Rogers Theater when we were able to get into that location. That it got a little out of hand. It was like there was so much activity going on, and it was just everywhere, and everybody was just like exhausted. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So we actually went outside and saged ourselves before we even walked back in, just to clear ourselves so we could, walk in with a fresh mind and be free of any, what you would call a hitchhiker, if there was one.
Yeah.
But you know, you talking about funny and seeing people out, you know, on the road at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we've got our shoes off and we're saging from, you know, our bare feet up. You know, people driving by going, "What are they doing?" I don't know.
Exactly. Well, and I do know of people who have had a hitchhiker, but a
Yes.
couple of them that I can say the activity only went on for no more than a week, and then they were gone.
Right.
So I think
I completely misunderstood that question. He said hitchhikers. I thought like ghost hitchhikers along the path. I actually had something like that happen to me when you're talking about, you know, things attaching themselves
yeah,
to you. When I was in LBL last year, for weeks after I got home, I would have this weird impression that something was watching me from the bushes at the back of my house. The dog on certain nights would not leave the light of the porch. He would go out to his business and zip back in. Other nights, you know, he would completely ignore it and go run around the yard like he normally did. But there would be certain nights you just felt like you were being watched. And a buddy of mine who is Navajo contacted me and said, "Hey, I think you have something attached to you." He says, "I had a dream about you." And he talked to me about it. I told him where I'd been. He's like, "Yeah, you need to start protecting yourself when you go to these places." He said, "You've got something watching you, and it's dark." And he's helped me with a blessing way, and
yeah,
then it went away.
yeah.
Once in a while, I'll still get the feeling that something's out there, but it's rare now.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
and we talk about it a lot. The the paranormal and that we run into when we're just out there hunting critters,
Mm-hmm.
and it's unfortunate that some people that are in the cryptid community, they don't think that holds any water with them, and then they start having these weird experiences at home, and they end up taking something home with them because they don't
Mm-hmm.
protect themselves.
Right.
And then they wonder why they've got stuff slapping the side of their house, or knocking on the doors and that type of thing, and they automatically want to assume it's a cryptid. And yeah, I'm not sure, because I can't buy that one of these critters is going to follow you hundreds of miles home. A spirit, on the other hand,
I have no
I know
problem.
when we
Spirit just didn't.
yeah, when we investigated the Hill House in Mineral Wells, they take that stuff so serious that they've got bottles of holy water and sage sitting there for you to use when you leave.
Wow.
And they urge you to bless your cars and stuff and yourself before you leave. And it was, but that's a pretty creepy place. That there's a lot of trauma. The one thing that really sticks out on me on that place is there's two girls that went missing. They were like 18 years old, and they came in and investigated or stayed at the night, whatever. And then the next day they disappeared
Yeah.
to never
Wow.
be heard from again.
Wow. How sad.
And then a couple of years later, I don't remember the exact time frame, but they had a group investigating the house, and one of the guys got so freaked out he went out of the house, wouldn't come back in. So he was wandering around outside, and he went over into the woods to take a leak, and saw something on the ground. It was one of the missing girl's cell phones.
Wow.
So, and there's been bones dug up on that property and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's insane over there.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it was on one of my to go to places. Also, you talked about Hill House being kind of negative. Do you feel like there's anything demonic there, or just nasty humans?
Oh yeah. They've actually there's a demon that's supposed to inhabit that place that's called they call him Toby because he named himself, and they've actually got a picture of him, and he's down low. It's a picture of a couple of people, and he's down low, and he's peeking around this girl's leg like this.
Wow.
And he looks like a humanized version of a bobcat. Is what
Wow.
he looks. It's crazy, and the one of the weird things that happened to me is it was really late, and we were just kind of we turned off all the lights, and we were just kind of nodding off, taking a nap on the couch, that type of thing. And for some reason, this is before I saw the picture of this thing. For some reason, this image popped in my head. I closed my eyes, and this thing popped in, just popped in my head, and I went, "What the hell is that?" And I went, "Golly, that's creepy." I'm sitting here getting goosebumps, but and I just blew it off. I didn't think nothing about it. Right? I thought, well, something's trying to, whatever, mess with me. And then the next morning is when they showed us the picture of Toby, and it looked exactly like the image that popped in my head the night before.
Wow.
And earlier that night was when I went under the staircase, and maybe y'all can help me out. I never can remember the name of these things. Manic room, or something like that.
Mechanical room? Like
huh?
No.
No, it's something paranormal. I can't even remember the name of it. But anyway, it's where you sit there with a mirror, and everything by yourself.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Where you look and see, and they come to you.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So they have this room that's underneath the stairs, and you can't even do this in a room. I mean, it's a little bitty, but it's underneath the stairs, and they have a chair in there and a 4-foot mirror. And what I did was I had them lock me in that room and turn off all the lights in the house. I didn't have anything but my phone with me and a voice recorder. And Randy had a camera set up for night vision. And then everybody, I told y'all, I said, okay, y'all go out. Said everybody go outside, leave me alone for about a half hour. And I stood there. I went live, actually, doing that. And we didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. Well, I thought I heard a couple of things, but nothing,
Yeah.
that I could say, But what was weird is the people listening on live on YouTube heard 2 female voices.
Wow.
And 2 names. And one of the names was of the prostitute that was killed in the bathroom, called the suicide bathroom. The other name of a young lady was one that they had not released to the public yet.
Wow.
And when I told them about, this the next morning when they came in, and we were talking and everything, and I said, well, I went live, and there was these 2 names that came up, and see if they knew. I was asking if they knew anything about these. They said, well, we haven't released that one to the public, but yeah, that's a spirit of a young girl that's recently.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. And somebody hit it in the chat here. Scrying is what that is. Scrying. Yeah. I knew what it was.
Well, speaking of being in a place where you go Facebook Live, now I was in Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and I was up on, I think it was the 2nd floor.
Man,
and there was 3 of us, and we're walking down, and I see these 2 strange lights. Well, I'm on Facebook Live, and I'm going towards it. I can't explain it, and I'm talking. I turn around to tell them something, and they're gone. And I to end up alone in a place like that and nobody's around, that kind of startles you just a little bit. And, that'll give you the goosebumps. And as I'm talking, I said, great, I got left alone again. And then one of the ladies pops on. She goes, but I'm there with you in spirit. I said, thank you. At least somebody's with me. I said, if you see something happen, call 911. But that was a fantastic place too. there's so many twists and turns, and the overwhelming sadness that I felt going through there, though. A lot of people didn't make it out. They just
Yeah.
didn't.
There's a
They
lot
were
of
dying.
stories there. Wasn't there
Yeah.
a story about a nurse that was pregnant and she hung herself? And
You know, there's a whole lot of speculation behind that. A lot of people saying that's not true.
Mhm.
That's not true.
I've
Whether
heard that too.
she died on the floor or not, you know, who knows? But the story is supposed to be fake. But the feelings in there are real.
Yeah.
Now, it was up on the 5th floor. Now, the 5th floor, oddly enough, one side of it was the children's ward. The other side was for the for where the infection got into their brain and kind of, well, basically made them crazy.
Well, it was
So,
a tuberculosis hospital, wasn't it?
Yes. So when the tuberculosis, believe it or not, went to their brain, it drove them insane.
Yeah.
And it can happen. I didn't believe it either. I had to look it up and research it, but it did happen. And so they put them on the same floor, different sides. I didn't understand that. I was like,
Wow.
why would you put the really, really insane people with children? But okay. I know why they put the children up there, because it is up there, and you can actually from that floor you can walk outside, and they had a playground up there, so the children can at least go outside and play.
Hey, Brandy.
And have a
Well, I tell
safe
you what,
place to play.
let's put
Yeah.
a pin in that, because I want to hear more about the children and stuff and all that kind of stuff in there, because I really want to go to that place. But we got to say goodbye to our Odyssey listeners, iHeart listeners, and stuff like that, because we've just about hit the 52-minute mark. And we're going to take a small break because some of us old folks have to go pee. And we'll be right back. So y'all don't go anywhere. Don't run off. We'll be right back. We'll see y'all in a little bit.
I guess we're back.
We are back.
And we're back.
We're rolling in.
We're slowly rolling in.
We are flying by the seat of our pants on this one. So
It's turning out pretty good. It's turning out pretty good. Anyway, I was getting messages on the break.
I just had enough time to go get my Pepsi and roll back in.
So
did Robby disappear?
Yeah, I don't know where he went.
He'll come back.
He said the hell.
I'll message him.
Yeah, will you message him?
Yeah, I'll message him.
That'll work.
Well, anyway, I'll just continue on with my story till he gets back.
Yeah.
So I was up on that floor.
Here he is.
And was the one side was the children's ward, and the other side was, for the severely insane. So I'm right in the middle of it, and I was holding on to equipment, and all of a sudden, my hand. Now I was wearing a body cam. I have this on video. You can see my hands. One hand went completely ice cold. I almost dropped everything in my hands because it just went ice cold. It went numb, and then it started to tingle like it went to sleep. There was no reason for it. Now I was going to say about 54, 55 degrees, which to me, that's not bad. You just wear, a nice coat and stuff. And I think I had some gloves on, if I remember correctly. Had gloves on. And I don't know what happened. It was like something touched me, and my hand just went ice cold. I was like, wow. And to catch that on video was pretty cool, because you watched me almost drop everything. Everything in my hand was gone. I thought, oh no, because that was my audio recorder and everything. I thought, oh geez, I don't need to buy any more of this stuff. It's expensive.
Right.
And but that was one of the experiences I had there.
So did anything happen to you? I've heard a lot about the tunnel where they would take.
I sat. Now the tunnel is about 500 feet down, and it's all steps. Now people say that it's like steps on one side, and then it has it's like flat incline going down the other, so they could take the gurneys out that way as they were wheeling people down, down the tunnel. Because that's where they would take them when they would pass. And they had so many start passing away all at the same time that they would start having the hearses and everything pulling up in the middle of the night. So that the other patients wouldn't see how many people were going out. There was that many. Mm-hmm. But I sat at the top of it now, where I could see all the way down the tunnel. And then there's a long hallway that you take to get there. And I sat there for the longest time, and you could hear, like somebody walking down through there. And then you could hear kind of like a squeal, like rolling a gurney, like a wheel might squeal.
Right.
And I did hear that several times. And then there was a lot of shadow play down there. I wasn't quite sure because I couldn't get a clear view of it, because it is dark, really dark in down in that tunnel.
Right.
But when your eyes adjust, you can see that it's just a little bit darker, and you can see something coming out around the corner, and it'd stand there for just a second, then walk back around the corner.
Gotcha.
That was really weird.
Yeah. Well, I've never been, so I'd like to go. Actually, when I went to Scarefests last month, I wasn't far from there, because I guess it's in like Louisville, Kentucky or something.
It's very close to there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's an amazing place. We had in our group, because it was a private event, we had like 22 people. Now the place is huge. Don't get me wrong. The place is absolutely just huge, but 22 is just too many.
Gotcha.
I think if you go in there with like 10 or 12, you're really going to get something. Yeah. You're really going to get something. But those spirits really know how to use and interact with, any piece of equipment you can think of. because
Yeah.
everything that we had was going off and lighting up, and you could hear disembodied voices just walking down a hallway.
Wow. Very
So
cool.
it was a fantastic place. It was a
Cool.
fantastic place.
So
Maybe we
another
should do
place-
that.
Yeah, maybe so. But you know what? There's another place in Kentucky that's well known that's negative, and that's Bobby Mackey's.
Oh, see, that's on my bucket list.
See,
That is on my bucket list.
well, there's warning signs, when you go there, like with the negative entities, and they're not responsible if you get scratched, punched, jumped, whatever. So
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Any place you go, you're going to take that risk. It doesn't matter where it is. I mean, you're going to have to take that risk no matter where. It's just like if you're a paranormal investigator, well, we know that.
yeah,
We take that chance, and it doesn't have to be a demon to do so. It could be just a negative entity, somebody that's got a bad attitude.
right,
If they don't like you, they're going to try and hurt you any way they can. And normally it's like hair pulling, scratching, or, you'll feel like a push or something like that.
yeah, for sure. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's,
I don't know if I'd want to
ahead.
go ghosting there, but maybe go there for the entertainment,
What's the worst thing either of you have had happen to you, like scratch, bit, something like that?
I'll let you answer first, Brandy, because I got several.
Well, for me, it hasn't. I guess I've been lucky, and I do say that I have been lucky. The most I've had is a really hard hair pull. I mean, as if somebody was like trying to jerk me backwards,
Hmm.
grabbing a hold of my hair. But I mean, that's about it. But we did have one of our teammates now at a place that we have hunted many, many, many times, and nothing has ever happened like this. He was sitting in a room. Next thing you know, his arm, he could feel a sting in his arm. He walks out, lifts up his shirt on his arm, and there is a welt, probably about 6 to 8 inches long. It looks like somebody hit him with a ruler, hit him that hard, and left a welt and everything. And it's at Ashmore Estates.
Wow. I've been there 20 times.
And it was Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was Jeremy,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
it was bad.
Yeah.
So and I've been there. I can't tell you how many times, and Krista has too.
Mhm.
And I have had nothing but great experiences there.
I had plaster thrown
So-
in once there, but that wasn't a big deal. My worst thing
Yeah.
I would say that ever happened to me, and it's happened to me twice. I've been choked. One time is at the general store in Potosi, Missouri, and it was so bad that literally I could feel the hands on my neck, and I couldn't breathe. And another investigator, a teammate, Danny, he had to get me out of there, like literally help me down the steps. And once I got outside, it was like I was grasping for breath. It just, there wasn't nothing there. And then another time, I'm not going to name that location because it's a lot of people go there, but I went out of there, same thing. There was a nasty entity. It was human spirit. Both places were human spirits, but same thing there. It choked me. We kind of, it was being nasty at this location, and we kind of confronted it, and I was told it thought I was a threat. So that's what it did to me. So I went out
Yeah,
and
I mean,
for a little bit and got my thoughts together and went back in.
yeah, honestly, you can have a negative experience anywhere you go, regardless. I mean,
I agree.
yeah, it can happen. If something doesn't take a liking to you, well, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But we always prepare ourselves for that now. I don't go in unprepared at all. I'm
Right.
always ready for the unknown. And like I said, I've had things thrown at me, which would be of course plaster, pebbles, things like that. Anything that they can throw. They've pretty much done it. If it's laying on the floor.
Yeah.
I've even had chairs move right next to me when I'm walking up to it. Chair just slipped away, like, you're not touching this chair, and it just moved it.
Right.
And that happened in front of a couple people. So unfortunately I didn't have video on that, but I do have audio. So I mean, I do have that for evidence.
Well, Brian asked, what's the
it's
most positive experience you had on an investigation? He said, we always hear negative and frightening. Any of you had spirits cross over? So I can tell you for me, like positive experiences, doing the paranormal or private cases, honestly, where we do help, the homeowner and we're not miracle workers. We can't make anybody cross over. We can't, you just can't do that. And, but there's a lot of times we have had homeowners who are really, really scared but they don't use a basement door or, basement room downstairs. So a lot of times, we've asked the spirit, okay, we'll give you this space, but you have to leave these kids alone. You can't show your son from the kids, or, the husband's scared or whatever. And a lot of times, they'll agree to that. They're, I feel you're good in life, you're good in death. If you're bad in life, you're bad in death. That's
Yeah.
on it.
I don't cross spirits over. That's not my business. That's God's
We
business.
don't either. Exactly.
Yeah, that's not my business. So, basically what we tried to do is be a mediator. It's kind of like if the homeowners are having a problems with the spirit and the spirit's having a problem with the homeowner, well, we're trying to figure out how can we solve the situation.
Yeah.
It's not to make anybody move out or anything. It's like what can we do to resolve the situation at hand?
Yeah.
And normally we can do that. It's kind of like, well, if you want this little corner of the house, you can have it. The rest of it's mine, but this little corner's yours.
Well,
and that usually settles everything down.
Well, and a lot of times they feed on the fear too, because it's not that they're a negative entity, but they see that they're getting attention. So, and that's what they want, is to be heard. So if I tell clients all the time, if you come in and all your cabinet doors are open, just walk by it and act like it's no big deal. I know that is harder said than done, but they'll get bored, so for sure. And then just
Well, I want since we got everybody here, I want to get y'all's opinion on something.
okay.
Okay.
This is when we were at the Hill House. We were playing poker with Willie, the ghost, the gambler, and I'll set this up for people who hadn't heard it. Two of the guys were in there playing poker, and I walked in and I sat down. I said, "Hey, deal me in," and I moved Willie to another chair, and I sat down. And they had said, asking Willie to show the dead man's hand. The next hand I get dealt the dead man's hand. But I got caught. Well, I got dealt two pair, aces and eights. Okay, which is not truly a dead man's hand, but he beat me with 666.
Oh, wow.
Willie did. And Bob Van Buren had come in the meantime and was standing behind Willie's chair watching the game, right? Well, then when we got up to leave, Bob's back started burning. And we got him in the control center. We raised his shirt up, and this is what we had. This is what he had.
Oh, wow.
Why is this not working? There we go.
We've seen it. Yeah.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And he felt the burning.
So to me, yeah. And
Wow.
we sat there and watched it. We sat there and watched it get worse and worse and worse.
Right.
And materialize. And to me, it's like either an A, or possibly they were trying to do a pentagram or something.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looks like an A.
There's definitely a shape there. Yeah.
For sure.
But
Oh.
yeah, it was really crazy. But
yeah, knock on wood. I honestly, I've never been scratched. Now I have, like Brandy, I've had my hair tugged, I've been touched, that kind of thing. I do want to tell people too, when they do paranormal investigations, one of the first things you learn in demonology is, demons have to be invited in. So
Right.
for years, I would go to a haunted location. I'm like, well, if you're in here, touch my leg or, open myself up to them. And that was one of the first things we learned, that too many people do that. They get personal, and they're by asking them to touch my hair or my leg, I was actually inviting them in. It had it been a demon there, So, I was playing with fire there and didn't even know that. And when we do private or not private, but events and the public's there, we ghost hunt with them. And I always tell them, don't offer yourself up. Don't get personal. Don't tell them your kids' names. Don't do any of that. Just thought I'd throw that out there real quick because,
Yeah, I mean, when we receive like disembodied voices and things like that, or it's normally if we're talking to each other about normal everyday stuff.
Yeah.
When I do talk personal, I will say, well, my daughter or my son, but I never say their names. It's just kind of a general statement, and I never really give anything too personal.
Yeah. Well, please don't, because I don't want to have to get our friend Anthony Bublé over and do an exorcism from you. Just saying.
Anthony Bublé. Yeah, I never really did, but it's if you sit and you just talk about normal things. Now we've talked about Bigfoot and Dogman, just for instance, that you'll get a lot of activity or other things when you're just sitting around a campfire and just talking about whatever. It's the same thing in the paranormal. If you're just talking to each other about, oh, well, I painted the house yesterday. Well, what color did you paint it? And just normal stuff.
Right.
One of my favorite questions is not what year it is or what is your name. It is, what's your favorite ice cream? Do you like peanut butter and jelly? Just things like that. So always remember that they were people once. They were live flesh, and they did the normal things that we do every day. And they want to actually feel some type of human presence and kind of live again through you. So always, talk about stuff, all their things, other things.
And their favorite music.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depending on what era or a building we're in, say if it was the 1930s, 1940s, well, I'll find music from that time and I'll play that and sit around and just chat with people and talk while the music's playing. And you would believe the responses that you'll get just through music.
Yeah.
Music is a big one.
It might be interesting to do something like that. And I haven't tried this, but I'm going to have to. If you can get a response on what type of music they like, and then say, something like, well, this is what everybody's listening to now, and this is the year 2022.
Yeah.
And see if you can get them to respond if they like it or not.
Right. That's a good
that might be
idea.
That's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
Right. True. Very true.
Well, I have my moments. They're few and far between, but I do have them every once in a while.
Yeah, we all have our moments. We're like, okay, I got an idea. Might be a good one.
Right.
Blind squirrel will find a nut every once in a while. But I wanted to ask y'all, because I've seen some questions in the chat and stuff about equipment. What do y'all suggest using? What do y'all use, to accomplish certain things?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've done everything from the Estes method to REM pods to just regular little recorders, recording EVPs. I mean, K2s, millimeters, Eddy pluses. What else, Brandy? What am I missing?
Oh,
dowsing rods. Some people, like to use dowsing rods.
I use kids' toys.
Guy. What's the Estes method?
Okay.
Yeah, I was just fixing to. I keep hearing it.
Well,
we love the Estes method. I do.
Yeah, and Robby and DA, you're going to find out what the Estes method is because you're going to watch it.
Is it
what
using
it is
fat bald guys as bait? Because I'm okay with that.
No,
Yeah.
we won't use you first, but we will use you. Not first, but we will. What you do is you plug
Unfortunately, you got
yourself
Robby
into.
too.
You did say
Do
fat
that
bald
too.
guys, so I mean, I
Um,
was assuming you were putting me in there too, brother.
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Anthony. I mean,
Yep.
we're all volunteered.
What we
I
do
I refer to
is
as
this.
voluntold.
Randy is our bait. He'll tell you that we keep him running in circles. Well, there's a little more backstory to that. That's because when we go out in the field, we stake him by one leg out in the field, and that's the only way he can run is around in circles because we use him for bait.
Like using a goat to stalk tigers.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's it. Brandy, you want to tell them about the Estes method, what it is?
Sure. And by the way, I'm the bait a lot, so never fear. The Estes method is the person who is going to be receiving the messages is the person who's going to be plugged into a spirit box, or it's a how would you describe that? I might have lost for words here. I'm sorry. I'm tired.
Okay, well, I can explain it. So what it is somebody
you.
has noise canceling headphones on, and then
Right.
they're plugged into headphones, where white noise comes through, like a spirit box, and that's what they're hooked up to. So a person
Sweeping radio waves.
Exactly. So a person on the outside is asking questions, but the person sitting there can't hear what the person is asking. So basically, they're hearing the spirit box, they're hearing the words, and they're just repeating what they're hearing. As I said, meanwhile, the people outside are asking the questions. So you see if it matches up, if your questions get answered. And I'm going to tell you, like 75% of the time, you can figure out a whole story by doing the Estes method. Yeah,
That's really cool.
it is. It really is. Actually,
Well, and then I'm gonna add to that. You're blindfolded, so you can't see anything. So you're actually cutting off one of your senses to enhance the other.
right, exactly. So it's like I said, we've always had good luck with that. And honestly, when I do these things, Erin Eck is always the one that she puts it all on, and usually, I ask the questions. So we've done some lives on blondes when we've done the Estes method.
Yeah, we want to do that up in the Brown Spring Cemetery.
Yeah,
Nice.
highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's a pretty cool way to do it. Now, Brandy, I know we were saving this for a later episode, but let's briefly touch on this. So this was an interesting thing I did here. What was it? 2 weeks ago, Brandy? We went to Mineral Springs.
Yes.
In Alton, Illinois. Brandy and I did with another paranormal team, some friends of ours, and we were there, and I guess you don't have the video. You couldn't play real quick, could you? No. Brandy, thank you. Anyway, okay, so they're like, let's go do a human pendulum. I'm like, well, I ain't never heard of a human pendulum. Let's go do it. I'm game. Let's try it. So what it was, would you say maybe 15 people? We all went downstairs, Brandy?
Yes.
And he had everybody stand up in a circle. And then
we were in a pool, a drained pool.
Yes, a drained in-ground pool. And he had everybody start swaying left to right and like getting the energy up. And so I went inside the circle, and then I had one guy on the outside of me. I'm like, I'm going to try this. I've never done anything like this. Let's see if this works. And so when that was going on, like literally he was asking questions. So it was just like a pendulum will go, forward and backwards or left to right for answers. And when he would ask questions, I could feel like something push me forward or push me back, like answering the questions. It was the craziest thing I seriously have ever done in my life. But the guy had his hands like this, between on my shoulders. He wasn't touching me, but he had his hands there. So whenever like my hand touched, my shoulder touched his hand, you know, I think it was up forward was yes and back was no or something. Wasn't it, Brandy? I don't remember. But
For you, yes, for you it was.
yeah, I could feel this push and this pull. It was the craziest thing I feel like I've ever done, you know, trying to get spirit communication. And it was quite interesting. And I tell you what, I was, I told Brandy, I was like, I'm going to do it just because, you know, let's see if this, you know, people are BSing or whatever. And I got to tell you.
We'll try it.
Yeah.
We'll try it, see if it works.
Yeah. Brandy recorded
So
it,
I videotaped her whole session,
Yeah.
and the people that were in the circle creating the energy were just throwing out questions, and you'd watch her physically either go forward or go backwards.
And I was not moving on purpose at all.
No,
I've got a
you
question
could just
about
see
that.
her.
I've got a question about that kind of stuff. When we go to do the Estes method and the pendulum method and really any kind of communication, and when you mentioned it earlier about inviting stuff in, isn't that a form of inviting these things in?
Technically, yeah.
No.
Actually, I believe so.
Well,
Me and Brandy can just
see,
agree
and then
disagree.
again, I don't know, because you're using your body as
right, but,
you know,
but there you go. Like I opened myself up to that. Technically, I know better, and I shouldn't have done it, honestly. But I just wanted to see if this works. That's how I feel about it. That I did open my body up to doing that.
I've always wondered because, you know, when you get in these places and we try to communicate with these things, whatever they are. On one hand, we're out there doing this. On the other hand, we're telling people don't invite stuff in. But
Right.
we're kind of doing that anyway, or it seems. So
yeah.
it seems like to me it's a fine line that you have to walk.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. I mean,
And it is.
Yeah.
You're kind of opening yourself up for it, no matter whether you say you're not or you are. You really, you kind of are.
Right. Any form of communication, I believe, in some way is opening yourself up.
Right.
You know, to an extent. So, you know, I mean, and same thing with like, you know, the Ouija board. You know, people. What's the difference of doing a EVP session compared to a Ouija board? If you really think about it, you know, a Ouija board just spells it out. Your EVP,
Right.
you know, it says it. You're still asking the questions. You're still, you know, so that's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. You do have to let yourself be, I would say, not necessarily vulnerable, but you know what I mean. You have to allow that, but you know, you have to know what to shut down and what to keep open.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people compare doing the spirit box thing to a Ouija board. It's just another form of it.
Mhm.
Yes,
I believe
absolutely.
So if that's the case, why are Ouija boards so taboo for the most part? But why are we okay with the spirit box and the open communication?
Right.
Because
You know,
people know
why is there
how.
alignment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people know how radio waves work. They can listen to a radio. They know that. And this is what a spirit box really is. It's a radio. It's just
Right.
scanning them on such high frequency that you're not hearing the music and people, you know, just having a conversation like they would on a radio. So they're okay because it's a radio wave. They understand. They don't understand how in a Ouija board, why a planchette moves.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying is it's a difference in a comfort level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess more I just wonder if you're more susceptible to something if you're using a Ouija board versus what we're talking about.
Mhm.
I guess that's you know, but I mean, how can we even answer that question? You know, I mean,
You're
I
opening
know it
yourself
gets
up either way.
convoluted, and I know these are hard questions, but it's something that I've always wondered when I started doing paranormal investigations and started talking about using, doing EVP sessions, using spirit boxes and everything. And then I started getting comments from everybody going, well, you're just basically doing the same thing as a Ouija board.
Mhm.
But everybody views a Ouija board as a different level. I get, taking it to a different level.
Right.
And I guess I'm wondering if the dark stuff, are they more drawn to a Ouija board because of the symbolism on them, or I don't know.
Right.
I'm
Because the Ouija board is a physical manifestation. It's a physical focal point, whereas the spirit box is more audio.
Right. Well, let me just explain it this way. All right. Now, with an Ouija board, whenever I use one, I always close that board. Okay. That means I tell them goodbye. I'm shutting this door. They are not allowed to come back through. Da 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 da. Spirit box. That's the same thing. I tell them I'm cutting communication. I'm shutting this off. We are no longer going to speak, and then that's over. So it's just kind of like opening yourself up, but you've got to learn what to leave open and what to close.
Yeah.
And
So
that's where
we're-
people
we're-
get confused. And that's why a lot
Right.
of things have happened with the Ouija boards, because people don't close them. They start moving, and they've got the door open, and then
Right.
they don't shut it because they get scared, and then all of a sudden things start happening.
Robby has a friend, a coworker of his that I spoke with her on the phone, and she had done the Ouija board a little over a month ago, and she woke up to a black entity standing over her bed, and it was like a month later when this happened, and but she didn't properly close.
Close the door.
Mhm.
She didn't close the door.
Right.
I mean, and it's hard to say once they come through, that's a thing of its own. But
Yeah.
the first thing that you got to do is close the door.
Yeah.
Close the door. That means you've got to
So-
actually go back and you've got to touch it again, and then you've got to close the door. Unfortunately, a lot of people won't do that. So
Yeah.
things keep happening. But once you let an entity through the door, who knows from there? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they would stay or if they would go if you close the door. That's
Right.
that's up to them because they're in our realm. So I don't
Now-
know.
So I'm going to play the bad guy here. I want to ask this question. It's a tough question because I've had to answer it as far as the cryptid side goes too, but I want y'all's opinion on it. Where do you, or is there a point to where somebody can cross the line from being curious and doing investigations to being obsessive and almost where it becomes almost a religion to people with this paranormal investigation stuff?
Absolutely. And that's also one of the things, with demonology, they talk about, there's one thing doing it to help people and doing it in your free time. But like, as you said, when it becomes an obsession, you've got an issue. That's the same thing with an obsession with somebody with a drinking problem or a gambling problem or anything like that. It's an obsession. There's an issue. Yeah, I fully believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can become a functioning paraholic. I guess you could.
Hey, I'm pretty
Cryptoholic.
close. Let's not talk about me like that, okay?
Yes,
Um,
I believe that.
it is kind of strange, but yeah, it's absolutely, it's an addiction. You can have that type of addiction.
Well, I mean, anything you
Well, I know
do can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
can go that way. So I would assume that this would be the same way, that you would have to really be, careful and do things in moderation. I mean, especially with this. I mean, DA and I have both dealt with, throughout our careers, people who are addicted to alcohol and drugs and things like that. But if you get addicted to something like this and something comes in and takes hold of you, I mean, you are completely out of control. Which I mean
Right.
is, I guess, is the same as somebody being addicted to alcohol or drugs, a lot of times they're completely out of control, and they do things when they're high or drunk that they normally wouldn't do. So I guess what you're saying, Tex, is it's you're gonna have to do moderation on all this stuff and watch what you're doing, and don't just rush in there before you completely study and know exactly what you can and can't do.
Well, here's a thought though. If somebody was obsessed with the paranormal, okay, like drugs and alcohol, would they be more susceptible to possession? If they were so fascinated by it, would they open up and allow much easier than, say, Krista and I would?
I think if anybody has that obsessive personality or the addictive personality, I think they're more susceptible to things anyway. And I think that's how people get, addicted to things like drugs, alcohol, pornography, whatever the addiction is. If you've got that type of personality, you're more susceptible to it. And whatever it is that you focus on, whether it be any of those normal things that we think of as addictions or the paranormal, where you just, and you've seen it with some of these serial killers who get so focused and obsessed with things like that, and they go down that dark path, and that's
and it makes me wonder if some of them weren't possessed to be, when this all began. Now, because they could be so normal. Talking to anybody, anywhere. Most people will say that serial killers, if you just knew them on the street, they'd be great people.
Look at John Wayne Gacy.
Well, Jeffrey Dahmer was probably, that people would say, he was one of the most unassuming, normal looking people that you would ever see walking down the street. But
Ted Bundy,
closed doors, Richard Ramirez,
Ed Kemper hung out with the cops at the bar, the cops that were looking for him at the bar, and talked about the investigation. They were friends with him.
Wow.
And now maybe y'all can answer this, being women. Ed Kemper, and I hate to go down the serial killer thing, but this is a fascination for me. But Ed Kemper is 6'9", well over 300 pounds, a monster of a man. Why would college girls willingly get into a vehicle with somebody like this?
Right.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't get that.
Honestly, I don't either, because that's nothing I would do.
Well, there's probably so many variables that we don't know, such as they were on the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Maybe it was his charismatic personality that made them get in. Maybe he told them a line or a story or something that they would believe.
He seemed trustworthy.
Exactly.
Well, if you ever listen to him talk, he's very easygoing. He's very articulate. He's very intelligent.
Yeah.
But he actually worked with the mentally ill.
Wow.
It's just, but anyway, I don't want to get down the serial killer path too far. But
we don't mind talking serial killers either.
Yeah, we go down that rabbit hole a lot.
I know when I was doing a lot of the research in Brown Springs by myself, and I said to my team, it was something that I felt, it was more than something I wanted to do. It felt to me something that I needed to do. I had to do. And the place kept drawing me back. And that's why they pretty much put the brakes on me, because they were worried about if I was getting too far gone. If something out there was trying to get its, claws into me. And that was the first signs of it. And it's interesting because once we did pump the brakes on that, and me going out there by myself, that drive to go out there has lessened. I don't, because I would go out there and spend, 2 or 3 nights by myself, romping around in the cemetery and talking to stuff and all this kind of stuff. But,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
I have to wonder if maybe I was, going over that line a little bit,
And maybe, I don't know. I just think anything you overly obsess, is an issue.
Well, they say that people who also live in haunted houses with strong entities and things like that, that when they move away or they just even leave the house, that they feel a pull to go back home.
Yeah.
That they can't leave. And I believe, Kristen, I'll correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that one of the signs of a possession, maybe starting the beginning of a possession, that when they don't even want to leave the home that they're in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of the yeah, that's how it starts. Yep, absolutely. They're always drawn back, or when they leave, they feel the urge to go home. As much as they hate to go home, as much as they hate the house, but they still want to go back.
Yeah, like they keep saying, I want to leave. I can't take this anymore. I can't do this. And then they leave the house, and then all they can think about is going back.
Right. Yep. Very true.
So Tex, they were right. They were right in saying to you, hey, you know what? You need to kind of back off that a little bit and give it some time. Go back at another time, but just not right now.
Yeah.
Well, they grounded me. I can't go out there by myself anymore.
Yeah.
That's
especially
dangerous.
when you're having those sort of feelings.
I called a meeting one night, and it turned out to be a damn intervention.
Paranormal intervention.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I don't recommend anybody, ghost hunting or going anything like that by themselves. Either cryptids hunting, from what all I've been hearing. But, either one. I think you need to have somebody's got to watch your back.
Well, it's not only that; it's just kind of like it's somebody there to validate.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be there to validate what's happening, because I could tell you something happened all night long, but if you're sitting next to me saying, yes, that did happen, that just makes it more believable. So,
yeah.
Just I got to tell you, when I was doing it, one of the things that kind of got to me was I was at the foot of the hill of the cemetery, and I'm just getting my stuff ready to go. I'm dragging my stuff out of my truck and all that kind of stuff. And this is all on audio. And I'm kind of talking to the audience because I know I'm going to put this out there, right? And I didn't hear it until I played it back. But you can hear all these freaking growls for about 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think it's like 12 minutes into the trip. I'm about halfway up the hill, and you hear a female voice right in my mic go, "Come on."
Wow.
And it's
you got an EVP.
Oh yeah. And so, it's when you play that stuff back and you go, "All righty then, I was not alone."
Right. Yeah.
DA, really?
The first step is admitting you have a problem.
That's what I think. DA, really? That's all right. That's all right. We're gonna
get my first time coin.
Yeah.
Your 30 days coin or whatever.
Right.
No, that's me and Krista. We haven't got our coin yet. We need our coin.
Yeah.
My 30 days crypto sober coin.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, and by the way,
never get it.
Anybody out there that is a recovering alcoholic, we have nothing but respect for you. And
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
So we're not making light of it.
No, not
so
at all.
You know.
Right. Back on the subject of going solo out doing things. So another little bit that happened at Mineral Springs in Alton with Brandy and I.
Yeah.
We were down in the basement. We went to the basement. This was 5 stories underneath the town that we walked down. Wasn't so bad walking down, but walking up sucked. But walking down there, it just the whole energy of the place, and I think Brandy can attest to this, it just kind of changed. And you know, I've been involved in some demonic cases, and when there's when I feel a ghost around, you know, it's different feelings. And then when it's a true demonic entity, I've always gotten dizzy, and that's how I know, holy crap, there's, you know, it's negative, it's here. Well, when I walked down in that basement, what did I do, Brandy? I grabbed your arm and I told her, I was like, there's a freaking demon down here. I shit you not. And so I'm holding on to her because I really seriously thought I was going to fall over. And so we didn't turn our back to it. I told her, you know, it's behind us. So we both turned around. Everybody else is facing this way, not me and Brandy. We've got our sights on it, you know, because
I'm not turning my back, and that's one thing. If I feel something negative energy or whatever, I do not turn my back on it ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That just, I don't know. For me, that's just, it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna ignore you. That's,
yeah,
I've already seen it and they've already seen me. So we're just gonna have this standoff because
right.
you know, you're not winning in my house, you're not winning.
Yeah. So we stayed down there, maybe 20 minutes. And I told Brandy, I was like, this is stupid. I don't go looking for demons. You know, I don't investigate. I don't communicate with them unless it's a private case and it is true, you know, true deal. I said, let's go upstairs. And we did. You and I, and then a couple other people went upstairs because, you know, I don't play with that stuff for fun. You know.
Yeah. So, you know, when we did that, everybody else was in front of me. Now I just picked up my equipment. I didn't turn anything off, and I started walking the stairwell all the way back up. About halfway up, all of my equipment that I had in my arms started going off for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like something came running up behind me, and I was like, where is this coming from? And I sat there, and it just kept going and going, and it didn't go off until I said, okay, that's enough. I got to get upstairs. And then as soon as I started walking, it quit.
Yeah.
And before I left that spot, so I'm checking everything around me to make sure that, you know, we didn't have any electrical outlets or anything, or any type of EMF that are explainable. And there was nothing in a stairwell. Nothing.
Right. Absolutely. So anyway, but that was just my 2 cents on tech. See, I needed Brandy that night. So don't go out alone anymore. She saved my ass that night. Otherwise, I'd have been hitting the ground.
And that was right after I broke my ribs. So I was like, well, if you go down, we're both going down. That was it. We're both going.
Yeah.
Well, I have a tradition. I have to fall and bust my ass at least once when I go out in the field. I don't know why, but I'll tell you something kind of creepy that happened last time. Was up in the freaking cemetery, and we had found out that in the past, and I think I told y'all this, that one of the people that came in possession of that property had built pig pens in the cemetery. And because it was up on the hill, good drainage, fresh water, blah, blah, blah. So, which is, I don't know how you can get more disrespectful to a cemetery than to have a pig pen up there. I just really don't. Mm-hmm. But my foot got caught on something, and I fell. Turns out it was hog wire that was buried in the ground sticking up.
Wow.
In the middle of the cemetery. So to me, that verifies the information that we've been finding out.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's interesting. Very interesting.
I just thought that was kind of creepy. I'm like, okay, so it's real now, type thing.
Yeah, it's nice when you receive validation like that. It's really nice because you're like, okay, I'm not crazy. There it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't catch it on cam me falling, but they got me getting back up.
Sometimes that's funnier than falling down.
Right.
I was coming out of there one night, coming down the hill by myself, and I've got a bad knee, and it went out on me. And it's on audio. Whoop. Oh, there goes the knee.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's. I don't know. Go ahead, Brandy.
I was just gonna say, like, somebody's got pictures of me where I had fallen, and I it was on ice, just lost my footing and fell. Well, they were laughing and started videoing. The other person started taking pictures. It looked like somebody hurt me and beat me up. The faces I was making, and then the sounds that my body was making trying to get up. It sounded like snap, crackle, pop, and I was gonna fall apart. And yeah, so like I said, sometimes it is funnier trying to get back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All
I'm
right.
gonna have to look into the Texas killing fields thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The other places, of course, listed in everything that I was looking at, of course, is Salem, Massachusetts. And yeah, that place is creepy. Absolutely, it's a must go for any paranormal enthusiast, or which, which I would say, I don't even know how to put that to be nice, because I don't want it to sound like, hey, you're a witch. I don't want to say that.
Which would it
People
be?
who practice witchcraft, you really need to go. Of course, they just had their big Halloween season, which is, you can't even get in there unless you're booking at least a year in advance. But they always talk about the, what is it? I wrote it down. I always forget the name of it. It's the Howard Street Cemetery. And that's where the witches that were executed were buried.
Ooh.
And Krista, it was that picture that we actually showed on one of our shows. That is that cemetery where I
Yeah.
got the young boy and the girl in there.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it is that. So is it haunted? Absolutely.
Hmm.
I've got it on film. It's absolutely haunted. So I would say it's a must go, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
I think our hotel was like $300 a night.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was nothing that you couldn't get anywhere else for half that price.
Yeah.
The food is expensive. Everything is expensive, of
Isn't
course.
there a town up there that like the whole town is like there's psychic medium shops all over? Like it's like a whole little village of it. Am I thinking of it
Well,
right?
it's actually right there in Salem. They've got that.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
that's what I was thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a brick. It's got a brick road, and you can't drive down it. It's just for pedestrians only. There's shops, and also they of course, Hocus Pocus was filmed in that area, that movie, and
Cool.
so there's a lot of foot traffic for that and places like that. And we actually went to some of the houses that were featured in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they've kind of shied away from what our history really is in witchcraft and things like that. They've kind of shied away from that. It's become real touristy now.
Gotcha.
So you start looking around. You go on the outskirts and in the towns surrounding the area.
Mhm.
You'll find it. Yeah,
Wow.
you will find it.
Very cool. I've always wanted to visit that area, to check this stuff out, just for the history, not to ghost hunt really or anything, just the history behind all that. So
Oh, when I was in Salem, I wasn't ghost hunting. I was doing the tourist thing.
yeah.
I just ran into some ghosts while I was there.
Mhm.
It happens. I mean, I've seen them when I've went to work at
Yeah.
my job. So it's just kind of like you turn, you look, you see somebody, and then you kind of look away for just a split second, look back, they're gone.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're at my job. I see them quite a bit.
Yeah.
My place of employment, it's probably been established like 50 years ago or so. So, and I've known quite a few people that have worked there that have now passed. well, I've been there 7 years. So in the last 7 years, I've probably seen 3 or 4. So I know they're there. I know they're there. I see them. So, I mean, you can go anywhere. It's haunted. It's like even,
So, Tex, I know all about where Brandy's been. Where's
yeah.
the best place that you've ghost hunted?
You know, it's got to be a tie between. I mean, of course, I've only been to the Hill House once, but we had quite a bit of activity.
Wow.
But you know, the Brown Springs Cemetery, and I mean, it rarely disappoints. And we've had so much crazy stuff happen, you know, up there that's got to be my number one. But the Hill House, I definitely want to go back. In fact, they have what they call a lone wolf challenge that I want to do.
Right.
And what you do is you go in there and you spend the night by yourself, but you go where they direct you and tell you and do what they direct you to do in certain rooms.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, and when I was up there and we were talking about it, there had only been 3 people able to complete it. So I'm like, oh yeah, sign me up.
Right. Wow. So,
But
yeah,
go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's places that there's a couple of places I really want to go. There's a cemetery that Amy from What the Paranormal's been. They've had some really outlandish stuff happen. That's not too about an hour or so outside where I live, and they had something stalking them around the cemetery, and they actually caught it on film. And I want to go there. And the Goatman Bridge in Denton, I want to go there.
Yeah.
Because evidently they're having a lot of, and I don't know if it's just joking, you know, kids playing or whatever, but there's a lot of, evidently there's some satanic stuff going on there.
I was saying, I was thinking that they said there is a demonic presence there. Now,
Yeah.
whether it still is there or not, I don't know, but they said there absolutely was one at one time. Of
Now,
course, you can't watch some of these shows on TV. Oh gosh, no,
right.
no, because it's all
So-
demonic. It's always demonic.
Right.
But
Now
the goat bridge is said to be very negative.
Yeah. And it's because of a killer that was killing women there, I think, if I remember. But there's also another place that is not too far from the Hill House, and it's a park. And before we got up there and anybody ever mentioned this, I stopped by. I was going through town, and I stopped by where a friend of mine lived, and I was talking to her, and she goes, well, you know, what are you doing? Oh, I'm headed out here to go to the Hill House. And her daughter and a couple of friends had went up to this park. It was supposed to be haunted. Well, she took her mom's car. Well, they were getting ready to leave, and she had her car keys in her pocket. Well, she couldn't find her car keys. Well, they're looking all over for them and everything. Well, then they find them hanging about 10 feet up in a tree.
Wow. That's
so, and according to what I found out afterwards, after we did the investigation, he asked, we started talking and I asked him about the park and everything. There's a lot of stuff that happens up there at that park. A lot of stuff. So I want to go there too.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool.
Well,
That's just, you know, pretty local, but
yeah.
I wanted to ask DA if he ever went to a place knowing it was haunted and deliberately went.
Yes. Just recently, we went out to the Union Campground Cemetery because we went out there because there were reports of people being scratched and shoved, and none of that happened to us. But it was just a really weird feeling place. I kind of went out there hoping I would find something. I did get a spike on the EMF from a tombstone, which was odd, but the whole place just had a very dreary, like lonely feeling because 90% of the tombstones out there said unknown.
Wow. Wow. What about you, Robby? You ever been ghost hunting?
Not on purpose.
I'm like, you wanna?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to.
Yeah, for sure. We have a trip
I've
planned
just been
in.
stuck in the cryptid loop, so I'm trying
Gotcha.
to branch out.
Yeah. Well, we all have a trip planned in May. So you guys are gonna go. We're gonna do the Bigfooting with you guys, and we're gonna show you about the ghost hunting. Take you all ghost hunting. So that'd be fun. Be a fun time.
Yep, I'm
So
looking forward to it.
yeah.
It's either that or they'll never want to go again. They're like, nope,
No,
that's
I'm a
enough.
glutton for
Never
punishment.
wanna
I
go
want to go
again.
again.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Anthony's the one you got to worry about scaring. I don't.
Yeah.
Nope,
No,
I'm out.
Anthony
I'm
be the
done.
one we got to worry about catching.
Good point.
He can sit in the
Something will
car.
happen and we'll just hear.
He gone.
He can sit in the car.
Yeah. There's
Somebody
another
go
place.
round up Anthony.
Here's another place in the Kansas City area that Paranormal Pixie, Laura, says last year she got to go to the first Oddfellows Hall and Cemetery at the Belvoir Winery. She hopes to go back next year. Now, Erin, our third blonde, she goes there often and
Yeah.
has stayed there many times. Very, very haunted. So,
And I never, for some reason, I never think of it when I'm over there.
yeah, I don't either.
But I want to go. That is, it's on my list when I go over there to do
Yeah.
it. But I get sidetracked. Something else.
Gotcha.
What is that hotel where they have? It's like cursed. They've had a lot of deaths and dadgummit, and it's supposed to be haunted and crap. I can't remember the name of it now.
There's a bunch of them like that.
I
Really.
know.
Hotel?
This- huh?
Do you know
The
which
Crescent
state?
Hotel?
I'm trying to remember. It seems like it's California.
I don't know. I know Colorado has the Stanley there. In
Yeah, I've got some pictures that a friend of mine we had on the channel not several months ago now, but they went to the Stanley, and he pulled some creepy pictures. There's a room that they have all their hardware stuff in. It's a server room basically is what it is, and it's closed off. It's locked, right? And they caught a picture of a young girl, looks like she's holding a stuffed animal, looking out the window of that room.
Yeah.
And they went and asked the front desk if there was no kids staying in the hotel at that time.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, another thing I've heard about the Stanley, I've heard that even the fish aquarium is haunted. Like people have seen ghost fish, which I find interesting. I've never heard of a ghost fish except for at the Stanley. I'd like to see one. But
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it when I was there. I guess I wasn't looking for them to be fishing.
Well,
But,
now I know. Now I have an exclamation for all those big fish that I say got away.
There you go.
The ghost got them.
They're at the Stanley now in their aquarium.
Now they were ghost fish. I guess.
Yeah, they were ghost fish. The ghost got them.
Yep. Paranormal Pixie said the Stanley's a major on her bucket list. Mine too. Absolutely. That's where I want to go.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Regardless if you find something paranormal or not, it is a gorgeous area, a beautiful hotel. You'll love it. You just need to go.
Yeah.
The Bob Van Buren mentioned the Baker Hotel in Mineral Wells, which is right across the street, basically, from the Hill House.
Wow.
And the Baker's very haunted, and they're actually remodeling it. They're not remodeling it; they're refurbishing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy thing about that area up there is there's was there 7 wells up there? But that's what the town is named after, Mineral Wells.
Yeah.
Because back in the heyday when the Baker was and it stands out. It's the tallest building in the town.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's been shut down for years and years and years and years. It was built back in I want to say the 20s, 30s,
Wow.
something like that. But these big celebrities at the time would go there to bathe in the mineral wells because they had healing properties.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I believe about like the wells and the springs and stuff, back there's a place in Excelsior Springs, Missouri that it's like that. It's they have a water bar and everything else. And actually, I think it was President Truman. He was visiting there, getting healed for something. I don't know, but that's when he found out he won the election, and he was there. So kind of a little interesting bit of history, but yeah, I think it's kind of cool. Were you talking about Tex, the hotel in California, the Cecil Hotel? Somebody mentioned.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
That's the one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
want to go there.
uh was that where the woman turned up in the water?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I had to think about it for a second. I'm like, oh, I know that
And
name. I know that name.
I had no idea about the past of that thing. But, that was just the latest weird thing that happened.
Right.
Well,
The
yeah, because
the
they had pictures of her in
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh
hallway. They had a picture of her in the elevator, and then she was just gone. And
Gone.
then
yeah,
they found her in the water tower.
Yep.
yeah. But and like I said, that's just the most recent thing that's happened. And there's actually a documentary about it, but
Mm-hmm.
the there's a whole list of deaths that are associated with that
Yeah, there's a
hotel.
lot of tragic events in that hotel. So
But
it would be worth checking it out if you could ever get in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it a place like there's a lot of homeless and vagrants and stuff that reside there
I don't
now?
know. I don't
I
know.
think I read
I
that
think
there's
it's a
something.
very low income.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I believe that's what it is now. But like I
Okay.
said, if you could ever get into it, would be
Yeah.
would be amazing. But I don't think you're going to get into it now.
Yeah. Yep. Excuse me.
Be
Let's see.
interesting to find out. Try to get in there, but
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, if it were vacant, I'm sure that they would do something. But um, depending on how things go in the next couple of years, it may become vacant if they can't keep the doors open. I've
yeah,
heard that they're having several issues. Well, money issues, of course, we all
right.
are, but a lot of places that are taking care of our and giving homes to low income people and families, they're just struggling. They're just struggling.
Well,
They can't.
there's
Yeah,
a thing too about the Alexan Brothers Hospital in St. Louis. Now that's where the famous, the Exorcist movie,
Right.
Mhm.
kind of part of that took place. They did part of the exorcisms at the Alexan Brothers Hospital. Well, that closed down as a hospital, and they opened it up to low income housing.
Right.
So I find that interesting. So
Well, let me
Right.
ask you all this. I want to get your opinion on this because I know where there's a site of what used to be a hotel when they tore it down. The only thing remaining is a rock wall that was built around the outside, you know. And I think there's something new there now, but I wonder if there would still be anything there,
Yes.
yeah,
because this
just
is an
Yes.
old hotel. I
Yes.
mean, no, it's a hospital. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yes.
Now we do have. We're trying to get this to work to where we can go. We just got to match up, scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But we do have a lead or access to a old hotel. Well, I keep saying hotel, an old hospital that is now shut down, and a friend of a friend bought it,
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
and they I'm really looking. What I want to do, I want to get in one of the morgue drawers,
Mm-hmm. That would be cool.
and
Yeah.
be left alone down there and see what happens.
Right.
Like literally slide you into a morgue drawer and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Dude, you are out of your mind bananas. There's no way the hell I would do that.
I've done it.
Mhm.
I've done it. It's a little freaky at first, but you just take your audio recorder in there and then you just start talking in there, and they leave you
Not-
for about 20 minutes to come back and get you.
Not
We
happening.
finally
Just
found
not
something
happening.
VA won't do.
Yeah.
I'm right
There
there
will
with
come a day when I will be slid in on one of those morgue drawers, but it will not be while I'm alive.
So I've always said that I'm going out of this world just like I came in, butt ass naked, kicking and screaming, covered in somebody else's blood. So
Now, I will tell you this. I will tell you this in all fairness. Anytime that I've been put in the morgue drawer, nothing has ever come across. Nothing at all. Maybe other people have, but I'm telling you from my personal experience, I've got nothing but scared. That's it.
I think it just sounds like an interesting thing to do.
Now you may
I
get
don't
knocks
know.
from the outside.
Yeah.
What's
You
that,
know?
Brandy? Repeat yourself.
I said you might be able to get knocks from the outside, like
Yeah.
something knocking at you on the inside, like, "Hey, what
Right.
are you doing in there?" You may
My
get
bad,
that,
get
but
out.
on the inside, I haven't got anything. But like I said, there's probably people out there that have, but I
Right.
have personally not. I just scared myself.
Yeah.
It's overcoming the fear is what it is.
Right. I'm not into that. I'm with DA and them. Nope.
Yeah, that is.
Well, and
Screw that
I
o'clock.
had talked
No,
about
thank
this
you.
once, and they were like, "Well, what if the door gets jammed or you get locked in or whatever?" I got news for you. That little old door ain't going to hold me back if I want out bad enough.
Right. Like,
Unless
no,
it's a ghost holding you in there.
Yeah, if they didn't want you out, you ain't getting out.
Right.
that's why you always go with someone else, someone trustworthy.
Right.
Well, in my group, that's hard to find.
It's kind of like create a safe word. It's like when you've had enough, and then just yell that.
Mhm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, enough.
Yep.
Because I have investigated with a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm like, you want to leave? No. Well, then stop. Yell out banana or something if you're really done. Just something. So I know to take you out.
Yeah, and make sure the safe word is in a language you can pronounce.
European vacation.
Did you say Klammerfliegen, Flaggenfliegen?
Hey, let me just say that in a lot of my audio and some video, you will hear me speaking another language. We call it Brandonese because that's the only language I know how to speak when it comes to stuff like that. It's like when you're not even paying attention or you're thinking about something else, and then something paranormal really freaks you out and startles you, and then you're just like that. Yeah, I've got a lot of that. A lot of that.
Now, I'm being serious when I ask this. I don't know, but do you think it possibly might be along the lines of speaking in tongues?
No.
No.
You lock me in a mortuary slab, you're going to hear somebody speaking in tongues. I'm going to be making up curse words.
with me. Oh, okay, let me just give you an example. All right, so I get startled and I'd be should have bought a Honda. That's me right there.
You're speaking fluent drunkenese. Bravo.
Yes, Brandonese, because I try really hard not to cuss. Because, I never know who's going to hear this evidence that I've got. So I really work on trying not to cuss when sometimes it just flies out. But most of the times it's just like that. I should have bought a Honda.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And we've investigated together several times. I've heard you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Brandonese.
Brandon East.
Right. But on a positive note, we don't go running out of places either. You know, we stand
No,
our
I do
ground.
not
No.
do that.
Mm-mm.
I
Never.
speak odd things, but it's a never run. And then if I'm really, intrigued, I'm like, can you do it again? I
Right.
want to see it. Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah.
I never I never run,
Mm-mm.
but it's not because I'm brave.
Right.
Yeah. You see me
Someone-
running, something bad's happening.
Yeah, either get out of the way or try and keep up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, all right,
good.
Krista, we're at almost 10:15 now.
Yeah. I think we should probably call it a night. I got to get up early.
Yes. I was getting ready to say, don't you have stuff to do with your girls tomorrow? Because they're going to be mad if you're tired.
Yep. And my big kids. I'm going to go see the grandbaby tomorrow.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So my
Yeah, we're driving down to Austin to see my son for his birthday tomorrow.
Yep. Good deal.
I'm
Good.
driving over to Illinois, investigating
Unknown zip location.
an location.
That's what we were told, to keep it quiet.
Yep.
I'm not
So-
going, but yeah.
Yeah, so this ought to be fun. It's an abandoned hospital in Illinois, so this ought to be fantastic. It's going to be
Awesome.
cold, and I hope they're.
There's a warm room.
Yeah, there's a warm room, or the windows are all intact. Either way.
Sounds
Yeah.
like you're going back in the morgue drawer.
Well, that's my life, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. We everybody, if they want to tune in next weekend or next week, next Thursday, we have Brandon Cooper. He is Shaman Sundays. He's a member of Paranormal or Supernatural Inc. And he's going to come on and chit chat a little bit about the shamanistic side of things and some paranormal. And then Friday night, back here, we have a women's roundtable. So that's going to be fun. So, yeah.
Get all the ladies on here.
Yeah, we have our friend and moderator of our page, Terry Mosby, and then a friend that Brandy and I both investigated with, Megan Medley, is going to come on. And
Yeah, she's the one that always makes me do stuff.
yeah,
Whenever we're together, she's like, hey, go in there. Do
Right.
that.
right.
So what do y'all got coming up next Friday?
It's the paranormal. It's women's
Oh, is that
roundtable.
the round?
Paranormal.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
So it'll be fun. It'll
Yeah.
be fun. You know, we all know each other, and there's a couple other ladies out there that haven't for sure given me a yes yet that they'll be on. So I'll wait before I say their names. So we're hoping just a bunch of us women sit around and talk paranormal.
Yeah.
All right.
That's going to be fun. I haven't talked to some of them in a while.
Me either. Looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight for sure. I want to thank Tex and DA and Robby for
Listening.
jumping in here and being our saviors.
Yeah. Thanks
I
for
don't know
listening,
about
guys.
that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys, we've got to get you guys some blonde wigs.
Well,
I
you
know.
projected.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the wig and do the total Fabio thing. Be like,
Wigs for everybody. Wigs.
There you go.
at
So
one point in my life, I was a blonde.
yeah, you posted a picture. I
That was
seen
a
the
long
picture.
time ago.
Yeah.
And thanks, Tex, for coming on. We appreciate you
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
Enjoyed it.
You guys
I'm
come
sorry you
back
couldn't go
anytime.
on, where you had to go, but we're glad you came on here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You guys stay tuned for next week. And actually, I'm going to run through real quick before we hang up here. Monday, there's Texas Front Porch at 6:30 Central. Tuesday is Beyond BMR at 8 p.m. Central. And also, I believe Bob's show. I'm sorry. Tex? What is that one called again? It's
Bamboo and Variety at 7 Central.
okay. Perfect. And then Wednesday is Jason McLean Questions Everything at 9 p.m. Central. Thursday is Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob at noon. And Thursdays is Siru Papers at 9 p.m. Central, and Friday is us, the Blondes, at 8 p.m. Central. So
And that's
everybody,
tomorrow night.
yeah, and DA's show is tomorrow night. He and
Ouch.
Robby will be on. Yep, for sure. So
It's just every
you
night
got-
with you.
Yeah. Where can everybody find y'all at?
You can find us on Facebook at DA Roberts Author, or you can join the group at Team DA and the DAX Machination. You can find us on YouTube at DAX Machina. That's pretty much universal across the social media there. You can join the DAX Machination by hitting like, subscribe. We'd love to have you. And tomorrow night we will be discussing the Genosqua, which is a very aggressive type of Bigfoot. And we'll have special guest Ryan Paul Tremblay. I'll have Robby there, and hopefully Anthony will be back online. He's down in Florida, so he's kind of recovering from some of the damage that they had. Fortunately, he didn't have any damage to his house, just a lot of limb damage. Maybe we'll have a rare dock sighting tomorrow night, and hopefully Steve will be able to join us. But hope you guys will jump in for DAX Machina tomorrow night on YouTube and on Facebook and join the event.
yeah, I look forward to it for sure.
And you're getting a blonde wig.
Yes, I'm going to get a blonde wig. I will wear it like a hat.
That's it.
Well, him and Robby been on a few times now, so they're kind of official. So Tex, I'm telling you, you come on again, then sorry, but you're gonna have to get you a blonde wig to come on.
I'm gonna start sending them out for Christmas.
Well, you know what? The scary,
I will wear it.
scary-
Don't put it past me.
Hey, the scary thing is, it wouldn't be the first time I've worn one.
There you go.
Oh, Krista, we gotta go shopping. That's it.
We do. Excuse me. But I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Thank you. And again, thank you to our guests for being troopers and coming on here with us and chit-chatting. And until next week, we'll see y'all later.
All right, we'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Good night.